So, I know that my first two Mighty Ducks videos received significant traffic on this channel after I posted them, and I decided that I wanted to do another Mighty Ducks related analysis. Now, if you're just stumbling upon my channel for the first time, hi, my name is Danielle, and I'm an aspiring YA author who was a theater major in college. Over time, my channel has significantly shifted from me just talking about comic books to me talking about nostalgic pop culture, as well as doing read aloud videos of my favorite books where I invite you all to join a group discussion and interact with me as I analyze the story. And one of my favorite pop culture phenomena is the Mighty Ducks movies with Emilio Estevez. They're the movies that just recently got me into watching ice hockey, and they're also chock full of life lessons and are, in my opinion, very positive movies for adults and children alike, given how family-friendly they are. But they're also very deep, and they grow more complex and mature as they go on. But the most mature out of all the films is D3, The Mighty Ducks, because this is the movie that slowly edges Emilio Estevez's character Gordon Bombay out and forces the Ducks to mature, as they're at the age where they are starting high school. And part of that growing maturity is the acceptance of their new hockey coach, the former Minnesota North Stars player, Ted Orion. Now, when we first meet Ted Orion, he is initially somebody that you want to dislike, and it's quite understandable why, given how spoiled we were by Bombay being the fun coach who allowed the kids to make practices into one huge game. In fact, our first introduction of Coach Orion is when he steps out onto the ice after Charlie leads the Ducks in practicing with Dwayne's lasso, and he ends up tied up, falling flat on his face at Orion's feet. And when you watch the scene, it's like all the energy in the air turns cold because you realize that things are going to be completely different. But as the movie plays out, you acknowledge this. Orion is a far better coach for the Ducks than Bombay. Now, why is that? Well, let's look at Bombay for a little bit before we switch gears. Bombay begins coaching because he needs to go on a path of forgiveness and recovery after he is charged with a DUI. As the first movie plays out, you see Bombay encouraging the kids to learn through having fun. He makes them drill with chicken eggs and uses unconventional methods to teach them. But through all this, he makes them Pee-wee's champions. However, as nice as it is knowing Bombay encourages the kids to have fun and not take practice so seriously, and he's very enthusiastic, we see how this comes at a detriment to them in D2. In D2, we see Bombay is very prone to distractions. I mean, he becomes blinded by the fame that comes along with coaching Team USA, and he totally suckers into accepting endorsement deals to the point where he loses sight of how his public image affects the team and their dynamic. While he does eventually get his head screwed on straight again, we see how he made the Ducks feel comfortable in their roles. Goldberg grew comfortable with standing in the goalpost talking smack. Fulton remains quite a nervous skater. Julie is underutilized until the last possible minute. Dwayne and Russ grow a little too cocky, and Averman, Guy, and Connie have no sense of self-preservation when playing on the defense. Even Bombay knows that this will have to change when they've reached the high school level. So, when he gets recruited to work for the Junior Goodwill Games Committee, he reaches out to his old friend from Eden Hall, Ted Orion, to take over coaching the Ducks. That means when Ted Orion gets brought in, he knows what needs to happen. He needs to shake them up and lay down the law. He makes it very clear that high school hockey is hard work and that they're not children anymore, so he's not going to treat them like children. He needs to start treating them like adults because he knows they're good enough to no longer be swimming in the kiddie pool. He needs to push them to go beyond what he knows they're capable of. He also makes it clear that even if they learn nothing else in high school, he hopes to teach them about one thing that they need to take with them: confidence.
What's the one thing all great teams have in common?
Great coaching.
Don't try to suck up to me, Averman. Defense. See, unlike scoring, defense never quits. But to play great defense, you need one thing above all else.
That starts with a W.
Confidence. Listen, if you learn nothing else when you're here, you learn this. All right? Because it's not just about hockey. It's easy to be confident when you have control of the puck. It's very, very difficult to keep that confidence when you got to take whatever strange bounces life throws your way. Don't be careless, but don't be too careful either. You cannot be afraid to lose. That's how you gain the confidence to attack the game when the puck isn't yours. That's how you attack life, even when you think you don't have any control. And that's how you play real defense.
So, he moves things around. He puts Julie first and makes her the primary goalie over Goldberg because he knows that she's the better goalie and knows that she'd spent majority of her time during the junior Goodwill games almost disempowered. He puts Russ on the third line because, he knows Russ is a bit overconfident and needs to take a step back and learn to actually work with the team. He makes Fulton a right side defense rather than on the left because for years Fulton was comfortable with being on the right side of the ice. And another bold move that he makes is taking away Charlie's captain position because part of him knows that all of Charlie's self-worth is built around a letter on his chest, and that Charlie will need to actually earn his captain title by working much harder because he understands that Charlie is capable of so much more. He's standing there watching all of them and noticing everything, and he knows that they have talent. Talent isn't the issue, but he needs them to do just as well on defense as they do on offense. In the end, Orion proves to be correct. By the time JV plays against the varsity team, they're already communicating much better, and they're playing like professional hockey players against the varsity. He talks to them about confidence, and attacking when the puck isn't theirs truly gets through to them, especially Charlie, who by the end of the movie earns back his C, even though Orion already knows that Charlie was and always will be the captain of the team. And, this just makes you wonder, if Orion had been the Ducks coach when they played for Team USA, would they have beaten Iceland that first time around? Would they have played far better in those first two periods against the Vikings in the finals? When the Ducks first played against the Vikings, they weren't playing real defense, and maybe part of that had been because Iceland saw all their weaknesses combined with Bombay being distracted by fame and glory. If Orion were there, he wouldn't have been distracted by the bigger things. He has a much clearer head than Bombay due to the fact that he had no choice but to have one. The car accident that left his daughter paralyzed and in a wheelchair made Orion realize there are more important things in life than fame and money, and he doesn't feel this need to chase after grandeur because nothing will ever be more important to him than his family, something that Bombay won't wholly comprehend because Bombay isn't married and doesn't have any children. And I know that sounds harsh because Charlie was the closest thing to a son that Bombay ever had, but it's far different between having a surrogate child and facing the reality that your biological child is sick or has a disability. Orion knows that fame and grandeur and chasing after bigger things are frivolous compared to what he'd gone through needing to deal with his daughter getting hurt. So I have a feeling that if Orion had been Team USA's coach, he would have had the kids on a consistent path, and he wouldn't have allowed them them to settle for just being content. He would have pushed them to want to achieve better than their best because he would have known it was inside them. He would have recognized that that would be the edge they would have needed in order to beat the Vikings the first go around, because Iceland and Coach Stanson sensed the Ducks were comfortable and complacent. That was a huge part of why they'd gotten beaten the first time they played against the Vikings. The Vikings observed them and noticed what the Ducks were complacent in, and they took advantage of those weaknesses. No way would Orion have allowed them to grow lax before that first game against Iceland, whereas Bombay was so blinded by glory, he just grew he grew just as complacent as the Ducks did. So I've come to this conclusion. Coach Theodore Orion is and always will be the better Mighty Ducks coach. Thank you for watching. If you're brand new, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell for all notifications. Also be sure to hit the like button and leave a comment down below letting me know your thoughts. God bless, happy viewing, and have a nice day. See ya!